Hey everybody, my name is Lawrence Green. I made a documentary called Kinks, Locs, and Love several years ago. It primarily highlights Black women with natural hair in the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore area. Let's check out and see what some of the ladies are up to now.
I retired, so I left a very structured environment, management structure, non-inclusive sort of environment, where I began my Loc experience, and I became an independent consultant. And so my clientele was primarily people of color, Black people in particular. So I had an opportunity to be around lots of people who embraced the Loc experience, and between professional conversations, we'd also kind of complement each other and embrace each other's natural hair and exchange tips on care and things like that. So I moved into a more inclusive environment.
So the last time we met and you did the interview, I was in Maryland, right? So I moved from Maryland in 2013 back to my hometown, Brooklyn, New York, where I was born. I am still in the hair business, and I am still a natural hairstylist. I've expanded quite a bit, and I'm no longer doing like the traditional salon experience, taking clients, booking clients. When I first moved to Brooklyn, I did do that for a little while, but that wasn't what I wanted to do though. I was really like one of those women, a lot of stylists will say, I want to get from behind the chair. I want to get from behind the chair. And that was me. I wanted to get from behind the chair. It's so interesting because it's like, you want to do something, but you don't know how you're going to do it. You don't really know what it takes to do it. For me, I knew I would look at television, I would look at theater, and I would be like, I could do that. I could do that better. And how do I do that? But it wasn't clear. But what happened was the natural hair clients that were coming in to get their hair done, some of them were actresses, and they would need their hair prepped for a gig, a show, whatever. And they would talk to me and I would tell them my dreams. That was what I loved about having clients, was that we really got to bond. So they would share their dreams with me and I would share my dreams with them. And they would say, you need to get into the union. And I was just like, click, okay, union. So then I started researching what the hair union was. And just to backtrack a little bit, when I first graduated from Morgan State University, I went to hair school and I finished almost all of my hours, but I also created a petition for us to work on textured hair mannequins and mannequins with dark skin, because all of us were Black. So I thought, why are we working on these white mannequins with straight hair, putting relaxers in them and doing press and curls? We can't really see what we're doing. Let's work with these textured mannequins. And that was, at the time, that was like revolutionary, because natural hair wasn't even like the thing yet. And so anyway, they found like some little thing in their contract and they were able to kick me out. What they did was they like put pressure on me to come up with a lot of money, and they gave me no time to do it. And I didn't have the money, so I couldn't come back to the school. I couldn't get my cosmetology license. I didn't get to finish. So at the time, natural hair didn't require a license, so that was kind of like my saving grace. But then later, when I decided, I want to go into a different industry, in a different direction, I identified that you did need to have a license in order to join the union. And so in 2019, I left the salon I was working at. I applied to get into a cosmetology school. I also applied for a scholarship, and I got the scholarship, and I was able to get my cosmetology license. Yes. So now I have this license, right? And I think it's 2019, and I get my first opportunity to work on Broadway as a swing.
What is that? What is a swing? A lot of people don't know what that is.
A swing is like a temporary employee, or someone who comes in and covers the show and does the track, which is like the run of the show. what you need to do, what wigs you need to put on, take off, your cues. You have to basically come in and do that for the person who's there permanently, because maybe they're sick or maybe they just have another commitment, they have something else to do. So you come in and you swing for them. And that way that's really how you learn, you know? You learn this track, you do the thing. And once I did the thing, before I did that though, I did something called a Broadway crawl. So the Broadway crawl is taking your resume and knocking on stage doors and passing it out to the hair supervisors, hoping that they'll look at your resume and they'll call you. And I did that 4 times. Like, I just kept going all over 42nd Street, all the different streets where all the different plays are being done. And I just kept knocking. And it wasn't until one of my great friends, his name is Kevin Thomas Garcia, gave me a shot to work on Hadestown. And I came in and I did a great job and he was happy with it. He asked me to come back. And then I now updated my resume. So now instead of just having other experiences, I had that one. And once I got that one, then my phone rang again. Another person gave me an opportunity. And with each opportunity, I just was introduced to more and more people. I definitely, you know, showed up and did what I needed to do. So it wasn't like they had any regrets. It was just like, who is this girl? Like, yeah, come. I've successfully become a member of the Union for Hair and Makeup on the East Coast, which is Local 798. And I'm working in film, theater, and television now.
I would say I went through a couple of transformations. I feel like that was in my early 30s, so very much still finding myself, newly single, thinking about relocating, just a lot of different life transitions. That was actually when I decided to change my career and move to New York and kind of find a new version of myself. I didn't have too much of a church bush, but I was playing around with color. I remember I was playing around with color. I did a couple of bobs. I think when I decided that I was going to move, I started like cutting my hair a little bit. So I would cut a little bit on the sides, do a little design here. I was just playing around to just see what, you know, what fared with my personal style at the time. So as my personal like clothing style changed, my hairstyles changed. And I felt a little bit more moto chic, like on the run. I was very like into city styles. I guess versus me being in like a super scholastic space. Around the time that we were filming. I was just finishing up my master's degree. So then I was ready to just kind of like fly and do whatever. So since then, I've delved into the fashion industry. I went to FIT and graduated. I did a couple of fashion shows, some runway, some New York Fashion Week opportunities came up. And got to work with some emerging brands under a woman who started a company just for emerging brands. It was like a retail marketplace where she offered mentoring, but also retail opportunities and events and things like that. So that was really exciting. Got to dress a good friend of mine. So that was really exciting as well. That was my new exploration into like editorial also, and just doing photo shoots and music videos. And then I moved to LA, and then the pandemic hit. Here I am. Here I am. So throughout that entire time, I changed my hair so many times. I think during the pandemic was when I decided to just kind of shave it all off and just see how far that got me. And it's been exciting. I actually enjoyed not having any hair. So I went from having a bunch of hair and going through a hair transformation at that time with alopecia to just not really being tied to my hair as part of like who I was.
So I feel like natural hair is always going to be there. It's always going to be women and people with celebrating their texture, their hair, learning it, understanding it. I don't see natural hair as a trend. I don't see natural hair as a movement anymore either. My opinion is that there are always going to be people with natural hair, and at one point it was a movement, and I feel like that movement has kind of retracted. It's just not as strong to me. I don't know that the majority of these women are getting their hair relaxed, but I do think the majority of women are getting wigs and braiding their natural hair back and putting wigs on. Like, to me, that's the dominant group.
I still enjoy seeing different hairstyles. I still enjoy seeing, different kinds of cornrow styles and beads at the ends, and different ways that women are able to cornrow their hair to make it look like something. I enjoy the hair shows. I'm seeing that there are more wigs that are natural hairstyles that you can kind of manipulate to be your own. So someone who does have natural hair may also put a natural wig on to do some sort of protective style in the interim of, in between their hairstyles, which I think is pretty cool. It doesn't necessarily have to be, a straight hair wig. It could be something that is kinky, something that does look like locks or tries to look like locks. But I think that I appreciate the span that it's gone. Instead of just seeing like straight wigs, now we're getting all different kinds of textures.
I think I've shifted a little bit on this, because I was like, no, you cannot embrace who you are if you're still putting the creamy crack stuff in your hair. And I don't believe that's the case. I just, there's so much going on in the world, and to affirm whoever you are, whether you're, a plus size or, there's just more self-acceptance and self-love that's needed. So however that package looks, if it's okay with you, then, who cares what anyone else thinks? For me, personally, I'm going to embrace who I am, but I'm loving this part. This is just what God gave me, and I'm happy with that. I'm not, tripping.
I would say yes. I think it's going to have to be on the person's kind of like inner psyche to have that change of relationship with the perm that you're putting in your hair is more of like a maintenance situation. If you're a very busy person, if you don't have a lot of time to do the wash day and the co-wash day and the protective hairstyle, and there are a lot of things and a lot of steps that go into taking care of natural hair. So if you are seeing your perm as a level of maintenance or a time saver, then I think you do have the opportunity to accept and embrace yourself and all these other facets, your personality, how you interact with others, how great you are at your job, how great you are in your relationship, how much self-work you want to do with yourself. Are you going to therapy? All these things can help you embrace yourself and not have a intertwined relationship with your hair if I feel like you're like a super busy person. If you're not a super busy person and you just want to look good and you want to, twist and twirl, that's cute too. I would just say that if that is something that involves you wanting to embrace yourself by getting a perm, then I would start to ask questions as to what is that, there might be something there that is kind of trickled in from like patriarchy or societal views where you think that this will make you embrace yourself more if you have this extra thing. If your hair is just a little bit more, if it's a little bit more slicked down or whatever.
I feel like my opinion on that is very it's not a popular opinion, but no, not to me, not at all. You know, I just want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
It is literally a revolutionary act for a Black woman to just be herself, just to be a Black woman. That's like revolutionary, to show up as she is, right? To show up with her natural, textured, highly textured, coily tresses. It's like, wow, you know, for some people, that is revolutionary. It's actually normal to change that. And I know that women have kind of like moved all the way past understanding why they're doing it to, I have the right to do it. And I get that. I understand that you can do whatever you want. You can straighten your hair. You can put a weave-in down to the floor. You can do all those things. You do have the right to do that. But don't skip the why. Don't skip past understanding, like, why do you want to? Why do you want to do this thing that doesn't have anything to do with how you really are? And I always throw this at people too, like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. We can do anything we want. I can bleach my skin. I absolutely have the right to. Does that mean I should though? And so I'm just trying to figure out how to allow women to feel safe enough to have the freedom to do whatever they want, because that's what Black women should have. But also just think about the choices that they're making and understand the why. And how much pressure and how much influence they've been exposed to that have been throwing at them directly, indirectly, consciously, subconsciously, that they are not enough. And another thing that a lot of people say, they're like, well, you know, all the other races do extensions too. All the other races, they get hair extensions, they get this and that. And I'm like, they do. And some of them get braids sometimes, but for the most part, I don't see them putting Afro textured hair in their hair. I don't see a large number of those women, and as a group, as a mainstream group, walking around with texture. So they're getting extensions and they're getting these added pieces that match their hair. They're enhancing their beauty. We are adding something that looks nothing like our hair, thinking that we are elevating our beauty. And I just want to make sure that women aren't confused that that thing that they added that's nothing like that, what they already have, is not enhancing their beauty, that what they have is their most beautiful asset. I think it's so powerful for a woman to feel strong within her own skin and beautiful within her own skin, just as she is. Like, you know, enhancement should still be a reflection of who you are, I feel, and not something so opposite, because then it gets confusing. Like, who are you? Like, you know, do you have that? If you have that same spunk attitude, confidence, and swag with any type of hairstyle, more power to you. But I don't think that's the case. I think if we really dissected that, I know I have a daughter, I have cousins, I have so many people that I've had access to as a stylist in all the different industries, and there is something very powerful about being able to walk into a room with your natural hair and be yourself.
Reflecting back, how women were saying how appreciative they were to have a piece like that done, that kind of really got into the root, you know, issues in terms of how our experience with our hair had been since childhood, and the struggle to capture our realness, you know, our wholeness, and to be seen as a whole person who has attributes that may not be like the rest of, you know, if the other populations. And so I still think that that is a seminal piece of work for women. It was uplifting, and I'm looking forward to more.
I mean, I know that at the time, I'm still very confident in my work. And I do have a standard of excellence with how I express our textured tresses. I can imagine people watching that and it was somewhat, for them, potentially off-putting, but it is what it is. Natural Hollywood is amazing. Anyway, I just appreciate being able to look back at things like that and see my growth as a woman. Yes, I'm still very confident, but it's just in a different way. It doesn't need to be said as much. It just is. I appreciate the opportunity I had to be able to style and serve Black women as a hairstylist, even when I was behind the chair, because it prepared me to be able to style and service actresses behind the chair and on set. And it's the same in terms of you see a queen and you treat her as a queen. And that's what we deserve, nothing less.
Life can take you in different places and you never know. Sometimes you don't think about this particular part of you and how it can shape, your journey along your life. So I'm just now having a flashback of what I looked like while filming, and I miss that hairstyle. I miss that hair, but it also just is a nice snapshot of where I was at the point in my life and where I am now. If folks watch this later on, 10 years from now, my hope is that we're not having to have the conversation around the negative ways that we've been seen in society, at work, in, just anywhere really, just because of how our hairstyle is.
Any last words, Vivian, you want to share with the world?
Any last words? Love yourself. Love yourself, no matter what. If you have hair, if you don't have hair, if your hair is doing something one day and it's not doing what you want to do the next day, you are a whole being. So your hair is not the one and only thing that defines you. Anything on your body, your spirit can define you. How you show up for others can define you. But love your whole self.